Marketing with my husband.
Welcome to Marketing with My Husband. This is my husband.
That's me. This is my wife.
Respucia. That's what Dan actually says to me behind closed doors. He often calls me Respucia.
It's from Norbert, Eddie Murphy movie. It's hilarious.
What's your recommendation for the week? That was the weirdest intro.
It was a weird intro, but anyway, my recommendation of the week is to host a fun careers night. I've traditionally looked at careers nights like, hell no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be there. It sounds boring and a bit culty.
I've actually never been to a careers night. That was the first careers night I've ever been to. So like my expectation on careers nights, like careers nights are cool.
Yeah, great. I think for those that don't know, we hosted a careers night called Workchella on Monday, only a few days ago. And it was a bit of success at a DJ.
It won't be a few days ago when this drops. It'll be a few weeks ago.
Okay, a few weeks ago. And it was fun. We had a DJ, we had a comedian, we made things spice it up a bit. And so many people were so willing to come up and shake hands and say hello. So typically when you're on Seek and you're looking at, resumes come through, you see 100 people go, oh, God, I don't want to do it. But you pull them all in one room, you get to meet everyone, see who stands out, and you're like, oh, that person was actually really memorable. I want to talk to them. So recommendation of the week, hold a cool careers night.
Cool. My recommendation of the week would be to start playing with ChatGPT's Sora. I did a little bit of a story and a little bit of a blast out on social media about what I had created. I don't think it's 100% there where it's going to replace graphic designers, but I think it's really cool. Love the aspect. I'm a Pinterest girl from heart, so I'd love the aspect to be able to go on and search things I like, find cool ads and creatives, plug it into Sora, be able to get it to kind of remix it and then fine tune it. So I'm having a lot of fun with that and I think it's really cool. I would say jump on Sora, jump on ChatGPT if you're not already on it.
That's great because I've been trying to do my generative AI.
Oh, unless you're Dan and you...
And I'm not very good at it for some reason. I don't know what it is. Maybe my prompts aren't very good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to something like that actually being able to help people like me.
help people like you, so you stop annoying me.
Should we jump in?
We should jump in. What are we talking about?
Today we're going to talk about all things advertising. This is our jam. This is what we do all day, every day. Coming up with ads and commercials and social media videos. This is us. This is what we love doing. It's exciting. It's a real cool part of our life. Being in our mid to late 20s.
I'm not late yet. I am like on the cusp of mid.
True. I'm definitely closer to 30. Anyway, the conversation today is about the fact that the barrier's never been lower to get into advertising. Everyone can afford it now. It's one of those things where everyone should be doing it. However, because of that, we're actually probably seeing that the standards of advertising are way lower. So to actually capture attention, whilst there's a lot out there, if you do it right and the campaign's right, then you actually can stand out probably easier than what it was back in the day.
Definitely. And I think as we see more and more of AI kind of taking over the process of like how an ad is run in, say, Meta, TikTok, even on LinkedIn, Google Ads, it's actually got a really low barrier to entry to run these social media ads. So I think now more than ever, and I've spoke to a few marketing professionals on this, that creative and the idea behind the ad itself and the way the ad actually connects and resonates with people will be what will drive success behind a really strategic campaign.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our main subject, which is blending old school media and traditional advertising with new age media. We think, can we do old school ads like they did back in the day? Like if we think old El Paso, why can't we have both? Or Estelas Estorth, or how do you say it?
I can't say it, but every time someone says that, I just have like little maracas in my head.
Yes, exactly. That is old school advertising. I think it created an emotional product. It made us go, oh, that's right, I resonate with that brand. Now, how can we create ads which are much cheaper to do, that are much easier to make, but put them in our modern landscape of social media and make more of them? I think for us, our childhood was built on advertising. So we look back at, obviously, old El Paso, but like the likes of RSCQ, and they're like charter boat, what charter boat, and people would be bandana over their eyes, walking around at school, thinking it's hilarious. These ads really...
I feel like we had a different school childhood. I feel like maybe. I wasn't quoting ads.
And maybe that was just me. I was just a real media drama nerd, actually.
Yeah, I think it was you and your mates, but that's okay.
But these ads, a lot of people think, oh, they look back at that ad, or they, those catchy ringtones, carpet call.
Yeah.
Experts in the trade.
I think my dad had what was that insect off Mortine? He had that ringtone back when like 3G mobiles were a thing. Yeah, he had that as a ringtone for ages.
It literally, these ads defined us and some of the conversations that we have to the point now. Obviously, we used to grow up watching The Simpsons, and 6 till 6:30 p.m. you'd be slammed with probably 50 ads, which is crazy. Like we look nowadays, you can just pay for premium, you don't have to listen to any ads. But as a kid, you're so impressionable. You're watching all these ads take in. It plays an effect of what you think about these brands, especially growing up.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, who's with RSAQ? Probably everyone.
Yeah.
So I've got some stats for you.
Okay.
It was really expensive to advertise 20 years ago, 25 years ago, and it still is to get on big prime spots, the likes of the local footy, that sort of thing. But in the early 2000s, it would cost you about $40,000 to $150,000 for a medium range advertisement. That's a lot, and that's not including production costs. That's just what it actually costs to advertise on a TV platform.
That's crazy.
Now, if we look at what it takes for us to reach, say, 100,000 people, in social media nowadays, it's about $1,000 to $2,000 on Meta. It's slightly less on TikTok, about $900. If it's on YouTube, it's about $500. And sometimes that can even be more than 100,000 people. And I think the crazy thing here is, and a lot of our audiences, and us being our niche in real estate, you only really need to reach 5,000, maybe 10,000 to really maximize this. But now we can create ads where we can reach all those people. Wow.
Yeah, that's insane. And like, how much would it cost on average? I should know this because we own a media company, but I don't do the numbers. But on average, like say a campaign to launch across TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, how much would it cost to create like the production of a campaign like that?
So if we look at maybe one ad, one really strong ad, you can probably make it for $5,000.
Yeah, right.
And that's a really quality, strong ad, depending on what they want. If someone needs actors, if you need to create a whole set, then we're still looking at $50,000 to $100,000. But
yeah, right.
If we can get a couple of actors, some microphones, and have the proper tech set up, let's say 5 to 10K, you can have something which is really good. And then if you want batch content, which is obviously a lot that we do, then you're looking at like 3 to 5,000, and you can do shorter, quicker ads, which probably just need, if we're looking real estate, just the agent or maybe a few workers or maybe 1 or 2 models to help us out. So $3,000 to $5,000 and you get multiple. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. And I think too, it's like when we see ads, I think we don't want this like salesy pitch. I think it needs to be something that is a little bit real. I don't know, just for me in particular, like I like to feel very related when I'm being advertised to. Like I know I'm being advertised to a lot of the time, but when I'm scrolling through, I kind of want to see how I would fit in that brand or that product or that service. And how it would be suited to my lifestyle. So I think it doesn't have to be this high production value. I almost think brands are leaning away from that a little bit more.
And if we're all spending, say, just under 2 hours on social media a day, which is the average Australian.
I'm spending so much more than
that's
2 hours.
Crazy, right? So, yeah, you're spending more. I'm probably spending more too. 2 hours a day, which is essentially, if you think social media, it's an advertising platform. And regardless if someone's just showing how good my life is, they're also advertising their personal brand, what's happening in their life, and then they'll hit you with another ad saying, hey, this is my jewelry store, this is my real estate profile, this is my whatever. So we're just jumping in, getting 2 hours of advertisements.
Definitely. I think I've had this conversation a lot with people as well, is that I often actually get asked, like, why do you do social media? Like you're in a role within a business, like a full-time role, like you have the business off to the side, but why do you even run social media? Like you don't need it. I say it's an online resume. And just recently we've been hiring for a new role at our business. And one of the team members said to me, like, do you actually like look at all of their Instagrams? I was like, I go in deep, baby. I look at your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Facebook. I want to know who you are, what your culture is, what you stand for, what your vibe is, because it's like you need to be a fit. So I think, and to me, it's a massive green flag if someone puts a lot of effort into their online presentation, especially in our industry. I understand if you're like a data clerk and maybe you need to be a little bit more incognito. Sure. Cool, that's a green flag. But it's a massive green flag for me in our industry if you put yourself out there and you're really proud of what you do, because it shows you get it. It shows you get social media, how it works.
I always look at, like, if we look at real estate, the most successful agents, when they have the money, they put themselves on billboards and they put themselves on bus stops or on buses. You name it, it's everywhere. But you actually don't have to have that sort of money kicking off your brand by just putting yourself out on socials. Like,
It's free. It's like, for the most part, it's free.
you can put $50 behind it and probably reach a few thousand people. That's phenomenal.
Okay, so Dan gave me a task today to come with a campaign
I did.
that I love, and I've got a really good one. Did you find a campaign that you loved?
I did. So this is a new age ad, and I followed these ads for 10 years. I sound like a real ad nerd. But one of my favourite ads of all time is the lamb ads, the Australian lamb. They're incredible. And the latest one that they brought out was all about the hate comments. And what the
I did see this ad. I liked it a lot.
What the lamb ads do really well is they find a divisive subject and then they use lamb to bring everyone together. So this one obviously hate comments and trolls online and like it's so funny. They had like 1,000 people in a stadium all texting and saying, you know, this sucks, all that sort of thing. They had someone with a balaclava on because they want to be anonymous and just yelling out random profanity. And then cooking lamb on the barbecue brings everyone together and go, oh, life's not too bad. I love lamb ads.
I think lamb ads are great too. I think when they did the generational gap ad, they also did the super controversial ad on Australia Day.
Yeah.
I feel like they really hit the nail on who their target market is Australia. So they're really targeting our, I guess, mainstream conversations. We're having these political conversations, but giving it to us in this super high quality, consuming, engaging, funny way that like almost now every time when a new lamb ad drops, I think they now only really drop once a year, but it's almost like a screening when the lamb ad appears. It's always on Sunrise. Everyone always talks about it, and it's just always a really positive experience. So I think it's great.
And the crazy thing is we don't just do advertising just because it's fun. Everyone does advertising because they want to make their business more successful. I looked at the stats. So they sold 18.9% more lamb after that ad dropped over a 6-week campaign.
That's so much lamb. I think I bought lamb for us.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think it's important that we look here. Like, David, this is a $100 million business. I need to check the stats, but then to go up by almost 19% is huge. Wow. Advertising works. Tia, what was your ad? What's your favourite ad recent?
I just want to disclaimer, this was for research purposes for the podcast. Of course. My favourite ad has been the Rob Irwin Bonds campaign. That's been my favourite ad.
Why is that?
Honestly, just think it's great. So if you haven't seen this campaign, the whole campaign is highlighted and based around Bond's expansion into the US market. So they've picked an Australian icon like Robert Irwin to basically front this campaign. And it has gone absolutely berserk. Like, the internet is losing its shit over it. By the time this launches, it would have been out for about, I'm going to say, a week and a half, 2 weeks. Yeah. But I want to read you some of the headlines. These are just some of the headlines that I love. So news.com says, can't take anymore. Fans beg shirtless Irwin. So they're just seeing it everywhere. They can't take it. The Herald Sun says, Robert Irwin sends fans wild in a stripped-down underwear ad for Bonds. And Page 6 says, Robert Irwin strips down to his briefs and he sheds the good guy image in a daring underwear ad campaign.
Raunchy.
Yeah, right?
And in fairness, Robert looked absolutely incredible. And I looked at him and was like, wow, when did this happen? His jawline is insane.
He actually also posted just recently, I think what this campaign did really well, right? So it's a mixture of everything. Why I think it was, when you said to me, find a new age campaign that blended old school advertising, it hit all the buckets. Influencer marketing. Robert Irwin, he has like the biggest following. So he's got over 7 million followers on Instagram, just over, and 8.5 million on TikTok. That's a massive audience. So influencer marketing is a main thing, right? Then he's got strategic advertising. So this campaign was amazing. So I'll read you the slogan in a moment. Then you've also got the impact of like, it's a meaningful campaign. They're launching into the US. It was very strategic. Let's bring like Australian icons. The Irwin family is known for their great relationships between US and Australia. You know, Steve and Terry Irwin are like the royals between Australia and America. So super strategic. And then you've got all this behind the scenes campaign. Then you've got virality, where it's just going absolutely viral. People are talking about it on podcasts. People are talking about it on TikTok. There's parodies where people are like mocking up snakes, and It's just gone absolutely mental. So this actually ticks all the boxes. But speaking of that, like some of his behind the scenes content has actually been like the lead up to the campaign and how he got in shape for the campaign. Like he had a meal plan, what he did. It was like he actually took this opportunity when he took it on was like, okay, I'm going to bear all. I want to be in really good shape. And he's kind of like, if I can do it, anyone can do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's also hits on the kind of like the advocating side for men's mental health, especially young men to kind of bear it all in a campaign like that.
It was badass, to say the least. And I don't think you can pick anyone more iconic as an Australian to push yourself into an international market like that.
Strategic from Australia Zoo too, because I bet their sales are like
Australia Zoo, they are killing it, aren't they? I think if you look at the whole like last few generations of Steve coming through, the whole family, now Rob pushing through, now how old is he? Mid-20s, early 20s?
He's 21, 22.
Wow, there must
So
be...
slightly inappropriate for me to look at this campaign as much as I did. The slogan on this one too, so it was really strategic. So have you watched the actual ad campaign? Like not just all the TikToks and the photos, like have you watched the actual ad?
Yeah, no, not the full ad.
Okay, so if you break down the ad campaign, it is like brilliant. So firstly, he sat in a backyard. I really looked at this. So he sat in a backyard and the chair he's sitting on is like those old school plastic shit Australian chairs.
Nice.
Like plastic. There's a clothesline reel in the back. It's like in an old Queenslander. There's a kid jumping on the trampoline next door. So it's like real Aussie. Comes out, he's got the snake around the neck. It keeps panning out. It's just like a real frame that keeps coming out further. He's got a spider on the leg. Comes out further, there's a crocodile there. And then the slogan is, ever wondered why Australians are so laid back? It's simple. They're all wearing comfy undies. Bonds made for down under. It's brilliant.
That's bloody good. That's perfect, actually.
I don't have any stats on what their stock exchange market price is at, how much money they've made. It so early. But he has appeared on probably every major news portal. He's on every TikTok. I'm telling you, Bonds is seeing a massive surge. And when I find that data, I'll share it back. But that's my campaign. I got excited about that.
You know, we're looking at both of these campaigns. They've touched on something which obviously people know, and it's like something that's very, very relevant. If we think of the Australian market, everyone looks at us like super laid back. What, they just sit around with their spiders in the room? How do they do that?
Exactly.
So to have Robert Irwin just in his bloody jocks with a snake on him, I don't care. That's so good. Down under.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, there
amazing.
was one questionable photo where he's kind of hugging like a giant like goanna.
Okay.
And the grip on that goanna's booty was questionable. But it was, again, just like showing this whole like, it was quirky, it was crazy, it was next generation, but then it hit such a simple message. And now Bonds has basically dropped that across a series of further models, further campaigns, where they'll just push that now out to the US market over the next quarter, the next 2 quarters. And it'll be really interesting to see the take up that they have in the US market from it. It's actually very exciting.
It's very cool, and I'm very jealous that someone could do that campaign. We did it.
Yeah, I was jealous too. So what are your takeaways? If we talk about these 2 campaigns that are blending old school and new age, what would be your takeaways for, I guess, everyday marketers or everyday businesses? If we relate it back to real estate, like anything content related, what would be the takeaways?
Okay, I think brands need to resonate or find their ideal customer and audience. If we look at Lamb, My Lamb ad, they look at Australians as a whole and what's a big conversational point. What's something big that's happening that we can say brings us together? And for them, they're saying social media can be divisive, but lamb isn't. You know, everyone around a barbecue eating lamb is the Aussie way. And I think that's finding that message and finding that audience is absolutely perfect, which kind of resonates exactly what this ad as well with Rob is. It's an Australian way. It's the Australian laid back.
I feel like because they were launching into the US market, they were very strategic about how they launched into the US market, which again, to your point, shows know who your consumers are and craft a message to that.
Yeah.
I think my other takeaway would be just be strategic about it. Like, don't just launch a campaign because you think, oh, visually it looks good. Like, what's the follow through? Like, what are you going to do after? How is that going to sustain? Like, you don't want to be coming up with new campaigns every month. You really want to test a campaign every quarter. So what is that campaign look like? Like, I look at our latest campaign we've run, which was the breakup movement, which was break up with your property manager. We had to be very strategic about how long that campaign ran for and what it actually looked like. And it's the same with these two campaigns. They're just obviously at a macro level. So I would say be super strategic and planned out and make sure you can put it across every platform.
To add detail to that is, I think attention to detail is super important on these ads. So if you think like just the kid jumping on the trampoline, that's such a tiny little touch which adds such a massive impact. So I think every time that we're thinking ads, and like simplicity in like batch shoots too, is like, how can we just have something in the background which just shows the story more? Sometimes in an advertisement, you've got 10 seconds to show a story, and that's crazy. How do you tell a story in 10 seconds when a movie's got 90 minutes? For us, we need to paint the picture very clearly. We need to have the backdrops right. We need to have the even the emotion of the ad right, the person that's in it, like what are they wearing? If they're trying to be let's say a real estate agent, and we're trying to say, hey, don't be so uptight, they need to be wearing a suit and a tie, and that's quite stiff character. So I think attention to detail on top of what you just said is absolutely necessary.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I'm very excited to see what campaigns everyone comes up with after this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Thanks for having me on again.
You're very welcome.
Marketing with my husband.